Welcome to Passionate Mark
Podcast.
Are you unknowingly living with PTSD? Meaning, have you experienced things in your life that can be traumatic? I mean, a lot of us actually have tried that, but very often don't think as it like being PTSD. Because what is PTSD really? Post-traumatic stress disorder? Traumatic stress disorder. So post means in the past. Traumatic means anything that you felt was traumatic at the time being, because in your life you might not have much to compare with, or you might have horrible things that happen to you. So you have a lot of things to compare with, but you tried something worse than you tried now. That means you kind of like don't think as what the traumatic situation you were in, you don't think it being as bad as it probably was, because you tried so many other things that's way worse. So I heard an Instagram post that was really on point, and it got me inspired by the thing I want to talk about. I talked about it many times before, but try to listen to this. This is Stephanie Lynn, coach, and she's very on point on this, I feel, because let's talk about it. Hear this.
People don't realize that you will get PTSD from being in a relationship with someone who is unhealthy, whether it's a toxic relationship, emotionally abusive relationship, narcissistically abusive relationship, physical abuse, sexual abuse. All of those things are under the heading of you will walk out with PTSD. You will walk out with some kind of trauma that you then have to now heal and overcome. The problem is most people don't link some of the things that they're experiencing as signs of PTSD coming out of these relationships. All right, let's talk about some examples. We've got flashbacks, we've got nightmares, we've got anxiety, we've got panic attacks, we've got high cortisol levels, we got an out of whack nervous system. You have just been accustomed to living in a state of fight or flight. You have been in survival mode for a very long time that you don't even realize that you're still living in it. And now all of these other symptoms are beginning to manifest because you are living with PTSD and you have absolutely no idea.
This is such an important lesson. And the lesson in it is just that recognizing that you might have some patterns of a survival skill inside of you. That means before, maybe you tried other traumatic things and you realized that maybe that you could survive that situation by just doing this and that, because that always helped you. And now you're in a situation that might be traumatic, but then again, it's not like you've never tried something similar. So you just do what you usually do, which is regulate your own nervous system. And you try to help yourself by calming yourself down and being like, maybe even thinking ahead of things. How can I plan to not suffer too much, and just tell the person that I'm experiencing this trauma with how I feel or how not to feel, or like trying to control the situation. So if you haven't heard this podcast before, it's pretty new. It's called Passionate Mark, or like I like to say, Passionate Mark. And there should be an echo on something like that, right? Well, you probably tuned into this podcast because you read something about it, or you found that the title was interesting or enticing. And it's all about self-development. It's about passion, going where passion is. And my passion is all over the place. I'm so passionate about so many things. And I'm sure you'll find out during this podcast or other podcast episodes of mine. I usually do a Danish podcast, but now I'm trying to do some of what I'm talking about in English, but not also publishing the same podcast over again. So I really thought that this subject was really interesting. And while I'm actually talking to you, I stuck on a mic to my chest so I can do other things at the same time, because that suits me very well. Doing a podcast and being on the move, I think that might be like a typical ADHD type of a thing, or like just a passionate person's thing to do. But trauma is something we really get, and you heard what Stephanie said before, and I wish I just was better at planning. I would have definitely invited her to do an online talk about this, but maybe I'll tag her in this and she'd enjoy another time. We can talk about many other psychological things. But most people don't realize they have trauma. They just have a trauma response. That means that you might experience trauma, but you don't really understand that it's trauma that you experienced. So your behavior is probably ignoring it or just behaving like you usually do, unaware that you experience trauma. So in the video that I played for you, in the audio from the video, I think there's, she's speaking about relationships of people, and typical that will be love relationships, and people will be in those and be attracted to people, and maybe you can recognize yourself in this, but are you attracted to some kind of people that always end up in some kind of annoying drama, and you're trying to figure everything out, and you try to do everything that they like, or you try to fix it, or anything like that, and congratulations, you might be a pleaser. So pleaser, what is really that? That's someone that tries to please everyone around them just to make them feel better, more or less manipulating people. You might not look at yourself this way, so hang on. It might sound somewhat triggering to you, but if you keep wanting people to see you in the best light, not to see your mistakes, not to, how can I say, they you want them to really like you. Even, if you make a mistake, you try to either hide it or make it less of a mistake, or instead of owning up to it, or maybe you're owning up to it but way too much. So you might not really be connected to yourself. Well, you're not being fair to yourself because you take on too much. Like pleaser behavior is very typical for people who's been around people who are either abusive or narcissistic, or have some kind of unhealthy behavior towards other people. If you have a tendency to attract people into your life that has some way or another wanting or habit of abusing or using negatively or passive aggressively other people, this is not very beneficial for anyone else than the person. And so what I would recommend is that you have awareness about what your trauma responses are, and who are you around, and who did you grow up with. If you start looking at those things, like what people are you attracting? Are you always attracting like dramatic relationships, or are you yourself creating some drama sometimes to feel loved? All these type of things can actually be trauma responses to you actually being out of alignment with yourself and growing up with some kind of trauma that's no longer serving you. And the trauma response will not serve you. It will never serve you. It's a great survival mechanism, but you're not actually living life. Let me give you an example. Every time something is great in my life, like something really works out well, I almost have a hard time celebrating it. Because I'm like, I don't want anyone to come take it away, And then you'll be like asking me, why would you think someone will come take that away? I'd be like, you never know. And people will say, well, it's not very normal. Let's say you just sold something and it's sold and the client is happy. Yeah, but what if what? Everything should be good. Everything seems great. So why would it be any different? Why not celebrate your wins? And I would say, of course you should celebrate your wins, but you never know if you've celebrated too much, someone might come take that away. That is a trauma response of every time me being happy or something working out great, I have fear that I did something wrong. Like something that I didn't notice or something I wasn't aware of. It's because I spent half of a lifetime, with a father that's a narcissist, and that would, out of the blue, not only a narcissist, but he might actually suffer from schizophrenia. No, it's not schizophrenia. What is it called? It's called, again, translation from Danish, bipolar. It's the same as in Danish. Bipolar, meaning that one day he could be super sweet, super nice. The next day he would do anything to kind of annoy me or to push me out over the edge of something, that might not physically necessarily, but more like if I had gotten had good grades in school, and maybe even some of the highest grades, but the second highest grade, and he would be like, yeah. When I was really happy, he was like, yeah, too bad you didn't get the highest grade. Why didn't you do that? And thinking that if he just pushed me more, I would thrive even more to make everything even better. And in some instances, he might be right, But in most other instances, I would say, I just never felt loved by him. And this is not an episode about me, oh, Mark had such a hard time. I've been speaking about this so much. So it's more to kind of use these stories for you to connect with and understand how your trauma is and how your situation can be compared to this situation. It's not being a victim, because it's something that I invite you out of being, because we don't get anything out of long-term being in a victim mindset, but we might get it short-term because that's what we experience through trauma. So my dad being like that, changing moods all the time, means that I have a hard time celebrating something for a longer period of time. I would be in the now right now and be like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. I can sit here in the sunshine. I can hear the birds twitter, and I can enjoy life. And at the same time, I'll be like, I hope this lasts. I wonder when it's gonna end. What will I do if I don't have this apartment? And what I do is then step into a mindset of a lack again, because I'm so used to, from growing up, that someone would come take everything away from me. And that would be my father, of course. I got some new toys. He didn't respect that my mother bought me some new toys, even though I only got it like, let's say, every 6 months to a year or something. And usually I was told to hide it from my father, even though it might not even be expensive at all, or something that was a gift to me. He would get annoyed for me being spoiled or something like that, and he would throw it out or burn it while I watched. And that's definitely a trauma. So my trauma response is now having a hard time enjoying what I get, what I reap from anything that I've done, all the work that I did. Am I in a survival situation right now? Is something threatening me? If not, why do I react to it like something is threatening me? Because my mindset is telling me to be aware of everything. That's typically why I'm hyper aware. My mindset tells me, be aware of everything. What if this and that is not going well? Does this person in the corner, are they feeling sad? Oh, this guy is really loud over in the other corner. I wonder if he's aggressive. I'll try to calculate the room, not just because I'm entertaining myself, but because it's from a fear mindset, a traumatic mindset that's traumatized by, I have to figure out all the dangers in this room, and so I can control it, so I can contain myself, so I know that I'm safe. And I could walk down. I did this only yesterday. I was walking down the street just enjoying myself, and then this poor guy is sitting begging for money. And I don't want to look at him, because I don't want to encourage a situation where I kind of have to be explaining myself or something like that. And it's because so many times, because of the way I was brought up, I have had a mindset that attracts people who thrive on other people having lower energy than them. But since I don't have low energy, I'm pretty high energy, I'm pretty empathetic, I give out a lot of energy, I share a lot of myself. And because people feel that, and I have my head down at some point, they will see that as an opportunity to bully or to steal or to even contact me, like come up and start a conversation. So if you ever experience you walking down the street and people, like poor people or unfortunate people or drug addicts or people with a mental illness comes up to you and talks to you very often, and you notice your friends, it doesn't happen to your friends. It's very often because you have a healer mindset, like your energy is a healer and your mindset is as well. So you have a hard time saying no. And then you're probably empathetic, so you won't say no to someone that seems like a lower energy than you are, because you don't want to be rude. They're already struggling, and that's your empathy kicking in. But it's actually over empathetic, because it's not helping you. It's not helping the person that comes up and talking to you, other than they will steal your energy because they don't know any better. You have a lot of things to give. If you are a rich person, you have a lot of things to give. So they see, oh, this person can probably spare a dime, or like a dollar or a euro or a Danish kroner. And so because they see that in you, you are more likely, if you have a victim mindset, or healer mindset, you're probably more susceptible to meeting these types of people. But really saying no is actually some of the best things you can do, even out of love. That is actually a loving thing to do. It's like, no, I will not talk to you. No, I will not donate money to you right now, because I want to set up a boundary that I didn't feel like it. If I did feel like it, and I saw this poor person or this unfortunate person that I could help, and I felt like helping intuitively, instinctively, then that would be a natural situation of you actually going up and talking to them. And at that point, they probably won't notice you the same way and trying to get something out of you or from you. That might even be you being out in town and having a good time with your girlfriends or your friends, male friends, whoever, you're a woman or a man, doesn't matter. And people will come up to you and you see this, very aggressive energy that they really go after you or really hit really strongly on you. Hit on you? Yeah, that's correctly said. I'm still translating in my head. Some days I just think in English, other days I will be translating. It depends. When people come up to you and try to hit on you very aggressively, it's very often because you attract those types of people. But if you're a type of person that it rarely happens to, you're very good at saying no. Yes, annoying people do come up now and then and say something to you, but it won't bother you. You're not worried about it. But if you were in a restaurant or a club or anything, or some a little bit aggressive or straightforward guys come up and hit on you, or girls come up and hit on you, because I've tried this many times with women as well. And they're really going at it. They're really like upfront, being very direct. This is very often because you have your guard down. And there's different mantras you can say and help yourself with, just prayer and basic prayer. You don't have to be religious to do prayer. You can just pray for your own energy and pray for yourself, or your inner power. So you can actually build this strong foundation around you. And if you do want to learn more about that, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Mark Barner on Instagram. That's MarkBarner. And you will be able to have these kind of prayers or mantras that can help you to protect yourself. And this will make you also stronger, understanding that saying no is really essential to live a balanced life. Someone being overly kind or overly aggressive or overly closed towards others are always based on an imbalance. We are inherently here just to be open, loving, and enjoying life. Life's supposed to be easy, and so is love. Love is literally easy. When you attract the love that serves you the best, if you don't feel the love that you're around serves you the best right now, it's because you're out of alignment with yourself. If you were exactly who you were supposed to be, I'm not saying where you are right now is wrong. No, I'm saying on your journey, if you're in the end of your journey, if you are where you're supposed to be, you will attract the right people. But this isn't an invitation. You wouldn't even listen to this if you weren't aware or didn't, if I couldn't speak to you at all. If this made no sense to you, you would already switch this off. So all in all, what I'm saying is that if you write down, let's say 10 things about your perfect partner in a positive way, that means, he shouldn't wear, overalls or whatever, or she shouldn't have short hair. No, then it should be saying he thinks overalls look funny too, or she loves her long hair. Things like that, or even she loves her beautiful long hair. The more detailed you are, the more you visualize. And I have the past podcast from this one is actually about manifesting. So if you go back to listen to that after, then you'll be able to manifest even better. So understanding that you attract things that are aligned with you, you will literally be walking on the street every day, and there will be things you won't even notice because it's not in your alignment. It's right next to you, but you won't see it. And if it's not right next to you, it will be on the other side of the street, because for some weird reason, you will not be attracted to it. So it kind of pushes itself away. And that's why people start dating people who are narcissistic, and they're like, oh, there's so much passion. Guess what? You're attracting now more of that. And I'm not saying narcissists are just hell on earth. I'm just saying they're teachers. They're not aware of it, typically. That's why you're a narcissist. You can't be aware and be a narcissist. But they're not aware of it, and they're here to teach you something. They literally chose, if you're somewhat spiritual, you can tune into this. If you're not, you just ignore the little sentence I'll tell you. But they literally chose their path here on earth, and they knew all the people they will step on the toes of and what the karmic response to that will be. So if someone gets something, if they, my dad chose to be my teacher in this life, so I could help him, or I could help others, be better people. I wish we stopped saying, because I have to cut that out after I do a podcast every time. But I'll keep it in today just because of this comment. But you will have your father, or like in my case, my father, teach me things in a narcissistic manner so I can have a trauma response, so I can learn through my life, through deep karmic lessons, so I can help other people learn faster. So karmic, we're raising the level here so we can all spiritually or emotionally live better lives here on earth. So really, we could do all we can to understand that these people are not inherently bad people. That's why we have to say no to them, understanding that they're not the devil on earth, but they're just lessons. And I would invite you to look at every pain or hardship or any resistance in your life with the notion that you're learning something. And when you're learning something, there's an invitation to stop and say, is this so important that I want to fight for it? Or should I wait until this comes naturally? Or am I so passionate about doing this that I don't care that I have resistance? It's what I want. It's what I feel is amazing. I know people that are in relationships right now with someone who's literally beating them up, like a husband that's beating his wife up. I know literally of people living in a situation like that. I've been helping them as far as I could, giving them tools to break out of that, but they still chose to stay there. Because we have to know that the psychology of us is that most often than not, we would choose comfort over development, personal development or evolution. We would rather choose comfort because comfort that is painful is a known pain. And a known pain is not something you need to fear. You just need to control it. And that's typically a trauma response. So you can't step out of it if you don't have awareness. You cannot step out of it if you don't want to change. But changing should be unpleasant. It should feel scary. And that's how we actually evolve. We found out that when you do things that are very unpleasant to you, and you get yourself to do it, even though it's not great, it's not something you really are striving for, looking to doing, but it's something you need to do, we actually found out that the brain makes new connections, and that your brain actually becomes smarter. So doing something like doing the dishes, I really don't feel like it. And when you don't feel like it at all and you do it, your brain literally, the connections in your brain, like not doubles, but it makes so much more neuro connections in your brain, teaching your brain that it makes sense to evolve. That's literally the perfect way of evolution. Every time we don't want to do something and we do it anyways because we know it's for the greater good, or we know that it's going to make us feel better, we get so much out of that in our brain, in our hormone system, and we literally develop ourselves faster. And you become smarter, you have better memory, all kinds of things. So this really shows that going through trauma is a great way to go through life. But if you keep walking into the same, barbed wire, if you keep going into the same barbed wire, or into the same lesson, into the same pain, it usually means because you haven't learned your lesson yet, or you haven't decided that it's a better exchange to letting go of that lesson and try something new. I think Einstein said, doing the same thing every day and expecting new results equals insanity. Or insanity is doing something every day that, doing something every day, I have to cut that out. Insanity is doing the same thing every day and expecting a new result. And so with that lesson, you can see that if you keep doing the things, if you're still in a relationship you're not happy with, you're still at the job you're still not happy with, you're still dating random people, looking for a long-term relationship, but you very quickly will choose someone new if they seem to be a better option. That is also, you are in a situation where you're not attracting the people who want long-term relationships because you're not showing up for yourself. So when you write this list of 10 things you want in another person, 10 things you want in a relationship, and then you do all that you can to become that exact same person that you want to be in a relationship with. You see where I'm getting at? You being what you're looking for, of course you can't be a long-haired blonde woman if you're a dark-haired man that, there's a lot of knows today, but I guess it's because I'm translating so much in my mind. But you won't be able to become that, but somewhat, the values that the values you see in another person. So if you do a list of 10 things that you value in another person and how you want your future loved one to be, your future love or your future wife, or even the current wife or current husband to be. Not that you have to change them, because that will never work out. You cannot change anyone. And if you're in a relationship thinking, if I only change this one person this way, everything will be perfect. I'll promise you one thing, it will never happen, first of all. Second of all, if it happens, you will not be happier, because that's just going to be another thing. Because your instinct is to be in the relationship, wanting it to be what it's not. And you attracting what it's not, because you're thinking it so much. So every time you say, I don't want rainy weather, I promise you that eventually you will get rainy weather a lot of the time, or you will start noticing rain much more than you did before. And you'll start worrying about rain. This is the same thing goes with relationships. So the more you worry about the other person doing something, the more you attract that. And that's how, the story I told you before of meeting people on the street, I would attract, years ago, I would attract people on the street that wanted my lower energy. They wanted me to be vulnerable so I could give them the energy, and they can threaten me to it, or they can coerce me into something, or persuade me into giving them money that I don't think they deserve. And I would have a feeling of them actually taking money from me, but I was actually the one taking out my wallet, giving them the money, even though I didn't want to, but I felt pressured to do it. That's why saying no is so important. Saying no will lower your risk from being in trauma. So again, the more awareness you have of the trauma response that you have, and the only way to have trauma response and to understand this is actually starting to practice, what was I thinking just 3 minutes ago? How did I come to this thought? It's like having a conversation. How did I come to talk about this subject to you? It was because I was on my phone, I was going for a run, and I saw this video, and it stopped, and I chose willingly to play it again so I could hear it and understand what she was saying was something that I already wanted to talk about. Trauma response. Because trauma response is just bad habits of survival skills, and all it does is keep you in a fear mindset, keeping you worried, keeping you aware what's going around you, what's going on around you, and how is it a threat to you or not. So you're calculating threats all the time. I would say that it's the best translation would be a fear mindset, because that's really not a word in English explaining this, but it's literally every time I have a thought, or I'm walking around doing something, if I'm at home or I'm out, I'll be worrying, a worrying mindset. Oh, what if this happens? I'm trying to calculate all the time if something bad will happen, and this means that I'm out of alignment with myself. So if you feel this at some point, I would recommend you step back and sit down just for a minute and breathe 3 times. Literally sit there, try to clear your mind of just feeling your feet under you, feeling your thighs, your butt in the seat, sitting down with a straight back, and then breathing 3 times. And that's in through the nose, out through the mouth, out through the mouth, sighing. So that will sound like something like this. Hold your breath, count to 5, count to 5 on your breath out. So that'll be and a third time. And then relaxing. This way of holding your breath can actually help you regulate your nervous system. And it can do that because of your breath and your awareness of where you are, your feet, your mindset of being here right now. And because your breath is so connected to your nervous system, it's a really good way to tap into that. And I think you can already hear I'm a little bit more relaxed just after doing 3 of those. We already know from science that if you breathe out longer than you breathe in, then you will actually slow down your heartbeat, meaning you will actually slow down your nervous system as well. So that's a really good exercise to have when you are experiencing you being out of alignment or having thoughts of fear or controlling mindsets. So how can you regulate all these things? Of course, you're welcome to hire me as a coach if you want to really create some awareness on it. And we can also look into doing a clairvoyance session. You can find more information about this on markbarner.com, and you can literally on there book me. Or if you can't find the link, you go on markbarner.com/links with an S in the end, and you'll be able to book me on top of that page for a session. And we can even start like a clairvoyance session and then talk about deeply how we can, work with what you need to work with. Or you can go on my Instagram. I sometimes have coaching sessions where I literally do tarot cards, or I do a reading without tarot cards because I actually don't need them. It's just a gimmick because some people really like it. And I think it's fun. It's a support system, even if I'm a little worried what people will think and how they will react, because I do think that sometimes, not that I react to it, but I think it, I feel it, and I challenge it because I don't want to be in a fear mindset. So instead, I want to be in a proud and powerful mindset where I will do things even though it feels a little bit odd, strange, or funny to me. So this is the way I can evolve every day, making myself better and better. And I literally try to do one thing every day that scares me a little bit. And this was one of them, doing a podcast about things, sharing about my life and all that, just because I want to help you. I want to support you and let you, support you where you are right now, and let you know that there's a way out and that you're not supposed to be in a trauma mindset all the time. You can be if you feel like it, and if it helps you. It does help me a lot. A lot of things that I do is because I'm very good at reading people, reading energies, and that's all because of a fear mindset. That's all because of my control. That helped me. Guess who helped me? My father and every other narcissist that I've attracted all my life. Strange people, so many times, people who are off. And that's okay. I learned so much from it. And it was a tough lesson. And I'm sure there's other lessons to come. It's just allowing me to be appreciative and appreciating in general, just being grateful for the things that I learned, and that I don't need as many hard lessons anymore because I learned to say no much more. I should say no to some of these flies coming in from the garden. But all in all, I hope this gave you some inspiration. And if you have any questions or something that I didn't finish talking about, let me know. You can write me still on markbarner.com or on Instagram, and I would love to reply to some of that. My name is Mark Barner, and you've been listening to Passionate Mark. And if you want to hear more about this, please subscribe to this podcast. If you think someone else needs to hear this, maybe you have someone who's also very like you and have trauma mindset and wants more awareness about it. And that's what I didn't finish earlier. Having awareness is noticing, what did I think before I thought this? Where did that thought come from? Do this in a conversation with a friend. If you both want to have awareness, all you have to do is every time you have a conversation in like 10 minutes, an hour or something, be like, wait a minute, just for fun, how did we get to speak about this? Oh, it's because of that and that, and you said this, and oh, we saw this dude on the other end of the street and we talked about this, and then we talked. The more you can go back, the more you can have awareness. What emotions did I have during that? What did I think during that? How was I responding to my friend's question? Or was I actually worried about something? And if you have a friend you can be blatantly honest with, you can be like, you know what, when you said that, I was actually a little bit worried that you judged me. And that's why I replied this. But what I really meant to say and be authentic in saying now was, I was feeling this and that. And, you know, I know it's kind of stupid because you said this before, but I don't want to let my feelings down. But that's my response. So yeah, so you start noticing your response, you start noticing your trauma response, you start noticing you having pleasing behavior, all these things. The more you notice it, the more you can stop it. And, or even better, more you can start being like, actually, when I just said this thing, what I really meant to say was blah, blah, blah. So I just want to finish on that, and thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time with me, and I hope my time was valuable to you. If it was, please send me a like or any comment that you enjoyed it, even a thumbs up, whatever it is. I'm just glad that if just one person out there can use this as insights to evolve and to become a better you, I just appreciate it so much. Remember, I'm not perfect. I do all these mistakes myself. That's why I know so much about it, and that's why I'm able to help other people. Not because I don't have the experience, but exactly because I have. Thank you so much. I'll hear from you, or I'll see you, or I'll listen to you, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in the next podcast. Stay motivated, stay passionate, and thank you for listening to
Passionate Mark.